All right, and we're live here with Kristof. How you doing, buddy? Out in New
Pretty good,
Zealand?
thank you, Kaylin.
Nice. How's everything going out there?
Well, we already got to Friday, so we're always a bit ahead of you. So doing well.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
right. When you said it was Friday, I was like, no, it isn't. Wait, am I off? Because I frequently forget what day it is. So I was like, wait, I thought it was
Must be good to be
Thursday.
you.
It's a good problem to have. Anyways, so so you're on the open source task force
Yes, I
for
am.
Magento, so that's interesting. How's that going? I know it's early. I think you guys have just relatively recently started getting into meetings and stuff, and I don't know how much you can talk about or want to talk about, but
No,
I'm
happy to
curious.
talk about it. I think, as you said, it's still early days, and I think there's still quite a lot of things to catch up on, and equally, it's a lot of people involved. And I think we've just had our second call, so we're just trying to establish some sort of cadence to what it is that we want to achieve, what is it that we can achieve. I feel it's the right people in the room, but it has also been quite some time that sort of this type of open discussion has happened. Obviously, with the pandemic over the last 2 years nearly, it put a full stop on, like all these hallway tracks and having a beer together and trying to suss out some of those finer details of how open source could actually work. So yeah, I think this has come around to probably at the right time to sort of get this discussion rolling again and see where we can take it.
Gotcha. You probably don't want to get into too much detail, I'd imagine, on what you guys have. I think I saw Vinay tweet a couple things, and I think he said something to the effect that he can't really share too much about what went on, but kind of.
To be honest, so far nothing sort of too groundbreaking that hasn't been out in the open has been discussed either. As in, like, even if I think the first call, we were something like 15 people, so even just doing introductions, that already takes up half the call. If each person only takes like 2 minutes.
Right.
So, like it, as I said, we're early days in trying to establish how we can work effectively together. But out of the next call, we sort of had, I guess, a presentation by Vinay, which is similar or probably a more cut down version to what he has already presented in Poland, I think. Mm-hmm. So again, it's just bringing us all up to speed on the same level. What I can say is that both sides are very very open to the process, and everyone wants the best for Magento open source. It's just a matter of trying to find out what those areas are where we can work well together versus where maybe the community needs to sort of do a loop by itself to sort of present something which is a bit more polished, because sometimes it's easier to show than tell.
Mm-hmm. Easier to show than tell. Oh, I see what you mean. Like, actually get some stuff out there. Are you excited about it? Are you excited about what the task force can do and what might come of it?
Yeah, I think, as I said, like the last 2 years, not quite, but it felt a bit of a lull, especially from New Zealand. I feel acutely the distance to the rest of the world. And, like I usually had my, I don't know, yearly to 2 yearly fix to sort of come out to imagine and sort of feel like,
Right.
hey, there's this whole world of community out there. And obviously I sort of did try to run like a local meetup, but that also is sort of a bit hindered in these days. So, seeing the community, the energy behind it, and there's obviously lots of smart people involved. So getting everyone together and moving things forward, I think it's exactly what Magento needed.
Right. Nice. You're an independent extension developer. You've been around since the beginning.
Basically.
Like, a lot of people are real worried about the current state of things. Is Adobe going to change everything to microservices or da? Are you worried about that? Are you like kind of just chugging along, doing your thing? Like, what's your personal feeling?
So in terms of where we're at, I think there's obviously some things to be always concerned about because you're relying on a platform, right? As an extension developer, if they said from one day to the next, we'll take it away, then obviously that has huge repercussions for a business like mine because that's the platform I build on top of. So I always have to think about it. But at this stage, I'm not too concerned. People sort of feel sometimes things move faster than they can actually go. If we look at Magento, how it is today, some of the things we are sort of dealing with, even with investment of development, huge resources over 10 years, right? That still, you can still see the remnants of Magento 1 in there.
It's kind of slow.
So if someone says, we'll change it all up, it's not going to be quick.
Yeah.
So I think that's a bit overstated. And then counterbalance that with what Adobe has set so far. And I take their word for it. There are elements in there which will always be really relying for the commerce version to be built on top of what is currently the Magento framework. How they currently approach it, to adding services on the side. I think that's sort of a model they will push quite a lot further.
Yeah.
So I think for the near term, that there's sort of not too many things where I'm getting major red flags.
Yeah, that made sense when I saw, I think, some of the summary slides from the Connect event recently, where they said, "Hey, listen, our deal is to insert these different SaaS services, whether it's recommendation algorithms or whatever, specific things that they're going to plug in." I was like, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. That they would just sort of continue to do that iteratively.
I think sort of the main issue at hand really is the front end, and they're sort of on one side you sort of have, you have the existing Luma front end theme, and that comes with issues.
Yeah.
But equally, then Adobe has come in and said, well, yeah, we'll do something new. We'll do something that's better. But that obviously is not a full replacement as of yet either. So that sort of leaves this halfway state, I suppose, where people feel like, yeah, where are we currently at and how does it go forward in the future?
Yeah.
But equally, people would like to sort of, Hoover is the prime example of, someone taking a pain point and making that easy. Mm-hmm. But, that all of a sudden is a complete new front end as well. So, on the one hand, you sort of have people, we want stable, we don't want to ever change. But at the same time, you sort of go, but it's not good enough. So, that you can't necessarily bridge those two. And Adobe's approach has been, well, here's PWA Studio that aligns with our vision, but it's completely different, right? As in, you can't migrate from Luma to PWA Studio Venue without major work. So
yeah,
I think that's probably the main issue that I'm seeing, where the community is again not aligned around one particular front end, but it has been going on for the last 3-5 years. There's so many different front end stacks which have popped up. So these days you can't just say if you built Magento, it's automatically a variation of Luma, and that's one of the strengths of Magento as well, right? There's you don't have to, and there's so many different options out there which are hopefully more aligned with your capabilities, mm-hmm. which is, I think, sort of the main area really where, work with what you got, not with what you wish what you had.
Yeah. It's a weird analogy, but it makes me think, like in the US, like part of the the governmental model is like, it's supposed to be slow to make changes. And that's why you have to have whatever certain types of consensus and things like that. And which is like a feature, that it's supposed to be slow to make changes. So it's almost like it's good that, Magento itself, the core, just kind of doesn't change a lot, and then community extensions can just build on top of it. It's kind of.
I think that's very true. As in, on one hand, you can say slow, but on the other hand, you can also say stable.
Yeah.
So, that always needs to be weighed up, where you sort of go, we want to go fast and you go fast in all these different directions, but if you go slow and steady, I know what merchants are going to pick.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I get asked by people like related to my business, Commerce Hero, they'll say like, how are things going? Or are people still hiring Magento developers, or is the market shrinking and things like that? And I'm kind of like, well, I'm sure, yes, like people are moving to other platforms. That's happening. But also it's like people are still hiring Magento developers. I mean, it's in a way, it's like, I don't notice the difference, in a sense, because, there's just still demand. There's just, and we're similar in the sense we have, pretty small independent businesses. So we don't have to answer to a ton of people. We don't have to have insane growth goals or anything like that. And can make a nice living, keeping it simple. And so, I'm curious for you, like with your business, is it kind of just things are chugging along, not like without major, impacts, or do you feel an impact from maybe elements of the ecosystem shrinking, or people moving to other platforms, or the move up market to Adobe Commerce?
I think not so much anymore these days, as in I think there was a period where certainly I got questions around some of our extensions if we have built them on other platforms. Well, unfortunately to say no, sorry, we are Magento specific, because that's our area of expertise, and at this point we didn't have any plans to sort of support different platforms. But those questions have dried up. So these days the most questions are around Magento 1 to Magento 2 migration still. So I haven't kept track of how many questions, but in terms of felt number of inquiries about different platforms, that I feel that train has gone, as in like the people that sort of moved on have done so. And yeah, so there's still, I guess, a bunch of people who still have a migration to M2 in the works, or maybe even planned. And then I think that there will be people who will stay on Magento 1 forever, and that's their prerogative, and they've sort of made a choice, or they made an undecision, which is a choice in and of itself. As in, just the other day, I came across actually 2 different sites which were still on PHP 5.4. Yeah. And you sort of go, okay, yeah, all right, it's a business choice, and that's where merchants are at.
Yeah,
you got to sort of figure out what you can and can't do for them, and
yeah.
That's how it's going to be with open source for quite some time.
Yeah, totally. Things can move sort of slowly, and that's cool. So your business is you're like chugging along and things like that.
Yeah, I'm sort of tracking along where I sort of would want to be. As in last financial year, I think was our best ever. So
nice.
I can't complain.
Congrats.
Really. There's always people out there who need help, and we obviously have bundled up my expertise in sort of small slices which people can access via buying an extension, and that's sort of how we currently sit, and the demand is still there, and every day I get emails and trying to help out people, and that's what we do.
Living the dream, man. That's awesome. And I know you have the PDF stuff. What are some of the extensions that you deal with?
Yeah, so we've done a little bit of a rejig in terms of how we position ourselves when we did our new website. So yeah, obviously a big part of what we do is around PDFs and email attachments. So that's sort of anything related to that area. People can come to me and ask me, and sometimes the solution may be one of my extensions, other times it may not, but around PDFs and attachments, that's what we've done quite a bit. And then sort of the other pillar where we've done quite a bit to split it out a bit more modular with Magento 2 is around extra fees and surcharges. So these days, I think we have 5 different ways to implement a surcharge, based on payment method, different product setup fees. The most recent one is order fees, where, like if you go cross-border and you want to add a customs fee or gift wrapping or anything like that, that's sort of the latest addition to the stable. And the last area is roughly order management, with particular focus on an integration with Xero, which is an accounting platform made in New Zealand, but these days they've sort of made it globally as well. Nice.
So, the order management thing, that's a big piece of functionality, isn't it? Or you just sync over to Xero for people to manage orders and stuff?
Yeah, so for the accounting platform, it's basically to have your sales and customer data sync over from Magento to Xero, and create different entries for payments so that your reconciliation in the end is a bit easier, and that you have all the same customer and invoice information in your accounting platform.
Right.
But we've been doing that one for 10 plus years as well, and I think these days we've sort of nailed down the intricacies of the ways tax can be calculated correctly and incorrectly in so many different ways, and we sort of try to make the best compromise to make sure that it's still adding all up with the constraints given.
You probably dealt with some fun bugs in your day.
We still do to this day, and I can sort of drill down quite quickly these days to sort of say where things may not be how they should be.
Yeah, you've got a finely tuned sense of intuition, probably related to debugging order totals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Taxes.
It's
all about taxes.
It's all about taxes and fees. I was listening to this podcast. It was related to like Bitcoin, but the guy was talking about how so many different things throughout history were related to taxes that you wouldn't realize were related to taxes. Like all these sort of interesting kind of hidden stories of taxes, like the Great Wall of China, which I don't know if this makes sense, but because I think it was put up to prevent like the Mongols from getting in. But anyway, the point of this story was the reason for the wall was so that people would all go in through one entrance so they could be taxed when they went in through the entrance, and like all sorts of crazy tax related stories.
Yeah, gotta keep the machine running, right?
Yes, you do. Yes, indeed. That's cool. I thought of Xero as like a tax accounting thing, not so much as an order management solution, which I'm...
Well, that was more the category where I'm currently sort of saying the Xero integration falls into, as in, we have some other extensions where you can sort of, bulk trade shipments and all that jazz. And I suppose I sort of put it not as a separate category, but, like you can map different workflows. So the latest one we can do is sort of create an order in Magento that automatically syncs back to Xero, and then if you tell in Xero we've received a bank payment, then it will automatically update Magento to say, yep, invoice created, and it sends off the email from Magento to the end customer.
Oh, cool. Nice. Nice.
Making things easy is what we try to do.
Nice, man. And are you doing a lot of coding yourself these days still?
Yep.
Nice.
So I do have one developer who's been working with me for a few years now, and he does most of sort of the longer term feature development, and I usually go in with let's say quicker turnaround to small feature requests on a daily basis.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't been doing much coding lately, I've started doing a little bit. A little bit of JavaScript.
You need a new project. You need a new project.
I do. I've been doing some stuff with Airtable, and it has this scripting language where it's basically JavaScript, and you can pipe data in and out. And I've been messing around with that last couple of days, so it's been fun. I think I've written like 9 lines of code, so it's been fun.
Make it count.
Got it. Yeah, you got to make it count. That's cool. Well, and Extension Developer Network is something that you started. It's as kind of an organization, or what's the word, for all the different extension developers. What's the word I'm looking for? A group.
Yeah, a group, a forum, a network. So just bringing together like-minded people to discuss what we all can benefit from, and share some of those views and seeing what works for others. And
I think the word I was looking for was like a cooperative.
Cooperative.
Yeah.
No, I think we're not quite there yet. As in probably these days, association is a big word that's being used in lots of places.
You don't cooperate very much.
We're not an association, but maybe in the idea it's.
Oh, are you back? Sorry, I think I lost you for a sec there.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, sorry. So I lost you when you were saying you're not exactly a cooperative.
No, so I think it's more a network is probably in the name, just bringing like-minded people together.
Nice.
These days, association is a big word that's being used. So if we were to make it official, it probably would end up being similar to an association.
Right. Right.
But it's really just sort of getting people in the same room, trying to share what we can, and in some areas trying to provide merchants with a clearer idea of what all these different extension developers have in common, what we stand for.
Right.
So, I think it's been a good little group. I definitely felt it was needed at the time, especially with all the upheavals around, different marketplace and new platform as it was. And we started at the time, Magento 2 was just in its infancy.
Yep.
So that was obviously a tricky area to navigate. But so from those early days, so that sort of still remains to have that communication channel between like-minded people.
Nice. And how is it? How's it going? You're still pretty active with it?
I think the last half year, I have to say, I was super busy sort of on this end, so we haven't been able to put out as many events as we would have liked. But there's still sort of like daily channels, Slack channels, which are active, and
cool.
We talk and catch up. So we'll. I think as events ramp up again, we'll be a bit more visible on those as well.
Nice. Cool, man. What are you most excited about right now when it comes to work in general? Whatever's top of mind for you.
So in terms of work, I think probably the most I'm excited about is, being able to go back to in-person events.
Right.
As in, that has been a long time in the making. And, obviously in New Zealand, we're still slightly behind the world. So we sort of have hopefully what is our last lockdown. So the end date is possibly in 4 weeks. We'll see how we get out of it.
That's cool.
And then, once hopefully international borders are a bit more reliably open, events will get scheduled and planned again, and we'll see where the first one will be that I can easily participate from.
Yeah.
So that's probably the big one. Then we're sort of just slowly working on a few of some other ideas around our extensions, and just making sure that obviously the next big change is PHP 8.1, as in that introduces a bit of a cadence where every year a new Magento PHP version comes out, then the Magento version compatible with it comes out. So that sort of puts the onus on us to sort of say, yep, we've checked and crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's to make sure that all works. So that's coming up. So we'll be doing that, and then we have a bit more work scheduled for our own website, again, sort of making it a bit easier to sort of integrate some of the ordering process and have a few ideas where we can improve a few things.
Nice. Yeah, and on the events thing, man, you must really be dying to get going, get out, get to some events. I know a few people that I've seen going to events. I've gone to a couple meetups, and it's felt really good to just get out, get back into that swing of things.
It'll still be some time away before it normalizes again. Like all the different countries have different rules and regulation. It's still, like what's true one day is not necessarily true the next week. So, I think it still will take some time for the world to, figure out what we can and can't do.
Yeah.
But, I'm hopeful that we're on the upward trend.
Yeah. How have you been doing with the lockdowns and stuff? Have you been doing some things to kind of stay sane and keep yourself sane in the midst of it? Stay busy. Has it been?
Well, busy is not the problem, isn't we have 2 children at home. These days one is back to daycare, so that's helpful. But
nice.
we try as a family to try to go for walks, and we have the beach down the road, so it's always a good destination if it's not raining. So
that's cool. Do you have good surfing over there, by the way?
Yes, depends on. It depends a little bit how the wind and how the swell is, but New Zealand, where we are, is not that wide. So if you're prepared to drive about an hour, then you have 2 coasts to choose from.
Right.
And that's what, I'm not a surfing person, but that's what I hear what people do is, they sort of get the surf report in the morning and then decide where to go, which coast to tackle. And
nice.
There's definitely options.
That's cool. Yeah, I started surfing this last year. I went on a little trip and learned to surf.
Was it Costa Rica?
Yes. Yeah. But they would talk about places like Australia and I want to say New Zealand. I'm not entirely sure, but
I think Australia is probably more well known, but
yeah.
I think you wouldn't be disappointed if you came to New Zealand and had board with you.
Well, I think it might be too big for me because like the waves I was used to were pretty. They were very beginner friendly, and so I get the sense that I'm sure it varies by where you are in New Zealand or Australia, but I get the sense it gets pretty gnarly out there. And then you got probably a ton of sharks out there too, right?
Not where we are, as in, yes, there are. Like, I think if we have a shark sighting, not quite as national news. Australia, they have a whole lot more, as in, like every all the major beaches will have shark nets around them in Australia.
Yeah.
But over here, we don't have that level of.
Right.
Ever so often you hear one and then they close the beach, but it's a rare occurrence, maybe 1 to 2 each summer. Or something.
Oh, okay, not too bad. Yeah, there was when you're in the water and like in Costa Rica, there's crocodiles, alligators. I can't remember which one. Crocodiles, I think. Anyways, but I only saw one, and it was far away, and it was like a baby one. But the place where I would normally surf, there was a river, like an estuary, a river that emptied into the ocean, and there was definitely crocodiles in the river. Like you could take a tour of the river and see them. And I was like, why? Well, I was like, why would you want to see these things? I was trying my best not to think about, those.
That's a good way to learn not to fall off your board, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But anyways, so you've been doing a lot of walks and stuff like that to get out.
Still have on my aspirational list to get back into running now that we have a bit more sun hours in the day, but still it's coming.
Yeah, I try to run. I try to run a little bit, but it's hard on my joints. It really is. Like, I just this week, I was like, I'm going to run in the morning and in the evening for like 20, 30 minutes. And I did it like 3 days in a row, but my like ankle was progressively getting more and more sore. And, I could just tell it was not, it's not like a good sore. It's not like when your muscles are sore, and you can tell you're building strength. It's like the kind of sore that like your ankles are just going to give out after a week or so,
That seems quite a rough start, though. I think you might have overdone it a little bit if you just started running. I think if you did 3 runs at 20 minutes a week, I think that probably would have been a bit easier on yourself and your joints to get started. But it's good to listen to what your body is saying.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you have to. Like, I was just like, man, because my wife was looking at my steps, in the health app, and it was like below 10,000. I was like, I got to get 10,000 a day. I'm just trying but yeah, I have to, if I run for 15, 20 minutes once a day, that works for me. Which is good because honestly, like I've lost 50 or 60 pounds and before that, like it was hard for me even to walk sometimes, like for 30 minutes. So yeah, it's
done,
just been,
it's awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome progress.
Yeah. Thanks. So yeah, you just have to kind of take the progress gradually sometimes. Yeah,
it's a long game. It's
a long game.
It's trying to build the habits and trying to be able to stick with them. I usually sort of find for myself, I have to put myself in some sort of race or something to get me out.
Gotcha.
But that's what works for me. So
yeah,
that's what I need to do.
Yeah, we kind of have to trick ourselves into doing the things that we're supposed to do somehow, right? Like you have to do these commitment devices or something.
Well, it's I guess the downside that comes with the job. It's all computer based, so you really have to figure out ways to get out of that.
How to get off the computer. Yeah. Because you were talking about events, and I know there was the Magento Association Connect event. There's been Adobe Developer Live. There's been different virtual events. I can't really do the virtual events, which I know is somewhat ironic because we're doing this podcast virtually. But for me, like a one-on-one conversation is different. It can somewhat closely approximate an in-person conversation for me, whereas a virtual event, I don't know, it doesn't very closely approximate an in-person event for me. But anyways, I was just going to ask if you've.
No, I think that's true for so many people. How I currently see virtual events, they're good to sort of just keep sort of existing connections alive, but it's not really good to sort of build new connections. Mm-hmm. As in, at an event, we might be talking and you might know someone and then you pull them into the conversation and all of a sudden I speak to someone that is new to me. But how do we do this online here, right? As in, that's just not what's happening on the same level, these chance encounters which lead to new connections.
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of the piece that is missing and it's hard to replicate. Sure, you can sort of do random networking introductions and that's sort of quite fun in and of itself. But yeah, I think the deepness of a conversation and a relation that you can build purely virtually is just not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be neat if the virtual, I think at some point, somehow virtual events will take some sort of a format that will be more, conducive to really connecting and networking. I don't know what that's going to look like. Maybe it's VR or something like that. I don't know.
The other part which I think helps real events is people make a real choice and effort to be there.
Yeah.
As in, you take yourself out of your normal surroundings, out of your normal day to day.
Yeah.
You might have traveled, and all of a sudden it's completely different. You're completely there. Whereas with a virtual event, like someone could bust into the door and, like it's an emergency at home which needs to be dealt with, or the time you sort of hang up, you're not part of it anymore. So, and everyone is taken out of their normal surroundings, and I think that creates a different environment for people to be in, which is really hard to replicate virtually. Yeah, sure, it's great that you don't have to travel. That makes it easier for lots of people to participate, and in a way could be seen as more inclusive, because like not everyone is able to stump up all the associated costs and even be able to leave home. So I think that's, I guess, the bit which would be great if virtual events could get up to the level of what people get out of in-person events. Yeah.
It's like at a virtual event, like you're there, but you're not really there. Exactly. You're not 100% there. What could be interesting is if like there was a place you could go, like let's say there was a building I could go to nearby, 15 minutes away, that had some VR headsets, or maybe it wasn't VR, whatever, right? But you go to a separate place and then you connect to the event, but it's local to you. It's a local thing. And so you're out of your house, you're out of your environment, you're completely like in the virtual conference. There's not going to be any distractions or anything like that. And then participate in that way. That almost seems like it could be more of a happy medium.
It's almost like a hybrid.
Like a hybrid.
I think there's probably something in it which could really make sense to, like if there's for us in New Zealand, if there's an overseas event, maybe we'll be able to, schedule a meetup which is time aligned and where we get a bit of a video feed into a certain discussion room. Could be a good idea.
Oh, and you're back. I think I lost you for a sec.
I was just saying, having this hybrid model would actually be quite a neat idea, especially from New Zealand.
For people in New Zealand.
If it's overseas, like it's a long trip, and like not a lot of people sort of are able to extract the value out of something like that. Yeah. So being able to schedule a local meetup might be quite a neat idea, even for a couple of hours, where you get a few people in the room here, and you have a video feed to the big event, and listen in on maybe a presentation and part of death exchange, and then you sort of disconnect and have a bit of a local discussion afterwards, and that way you can open up an existing event to a wider audience.
Yeah, that could be cool. Did you check out the MA Connect recently?
That one was too much during my nighttime.
Oh.
It started at 1 or 2 a.m.
Right.
So yeah, that and like for the open source task force, that they're also in the middle of the night. But like for an hour, that's okay. But staying up 6 hours in the middle of the night, that unfortunately was not possible.
Oh yeah, that's brutal. That's brutal, man. Time zones. How many hours? So it's do some time zone math on the fly here. So it was 8 o'clock. It was 8 o'clock your time, 2 p.m. my time. So you are
sounds about right.
10.
Yeah.
You're like 18 hours ahead.
Yeah,
something like that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually GLA go 4 hours ahead minus a day, and if you're in the middle of the States, that's 6 hours seems.
Okay.
Seems about right.
Time zones, man. I want to make it out to New Zealand, though. It seems like a neat place.
Yeah, you're always welcome to come. And as I said, I'm not a big surfer, but I'll send you the right direction.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
It's an invite.
A lot of
at the moment we're not letting you in, but fast forward, hopefully into early next year, things will be a bit more predictable what's possible.
Yeah, hopefully. a lot of I think I read this thing that a lot of like billionaires are buying like land in New Zealand. Did you read about that?
Yeah, we have a few.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, like because it's a good, I don't know, it's like a good place to be if everything goes to hell out here. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what they're thinking, but I think it probably goes, New Zealand's not worth a nuke, so that's probably why you get here. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's on the list. It's on the list of places to visit.
It's a lovely country and has lots going for it, and especially if you like nature and being out and about, it's a good place to come.
Do you do like some epic hiking out there? Like, is there like some? Really
we haven't in a while, as in we've only just our little one will be turning 2 in December.
Yeah.
So big hikes have been a bit off the cards, but we're hoping to
get him on one of those backpack jobbies. Get him strapped into one of those little backpack thingies.
Yeah, we have one, but not a big fan.
Yeah, no, I know.
We'll give it another try, but yeah, the hope is that we're getting more and more into sort of longer ones, and we sort of take the small first steps.
Yeah. Oh, you must have such nice hiking out there, though. I mean,
yeah.
It's got to be epic. Like,
pretty much.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I'll send you a link. Sort of the most popular one-day track.
That's cool.
It's in the middle of the North Island. Almost too popular, but no, that one is a great one to
nice
get hyped up about.
Yeah, yeah. Like I went, did a little bit of hiking yesterday. We have some like lakes and some little hills out here, but I mean, it's
all over the States, though. There's some really amazing scenery as well.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I mean, Colorado. I mean, but where I am, there's not like mountains. We have some hills basically, but it gets the job done. There's some nice lakes and stuff. Yeah, I love to hike. So like I'm just imagining hiking in New Zealand right now, and I'm just like, dude, that'd be great.
I still remember, like years and years ago, Ben Marks came out, and one of the other guys was scheduled to take the dog out, and he was just like, "Come along," and we went to the West Coast, and yeah, that was epic walk.
Nice. What did you think about Ben going to Shopware? Did you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I did. It's I think HR at Adobe didn't pay attention.
Okay. Yeah, that's possible. Yeah,
it's obviously Ben is really good at what he does, and it's a huge loss to Adobe / Magento that he's no longer sort of with us. But probably, that decision didn't come about in, spur of the moment. So, like the foundation, I haven't talked to him about this, so it's pure speculation.
Yeah, me neither. We can speculate.
The foundations, as in, I felt like at the time of acquisition, we had Matt Essay. He was very vocal in the early days and very welcoming in terms of allaying all the fears of what open source could mean for Adobe and Magento.
Then he was gone.
And then 3 weeks later, he was gone to Amazon. And so there was like, I think this moment in time where probably if things were going well, for Ben, that could have been an opportunity which could have been catered for him.
Right.
But I think that didn't quite happen. So obviously he was looking elsewhere, and good on Shopware to nab him. What I would have hoped is that he would have been able to, appoint a successor and sort of, do introductions. But again, with a pandemic, that's again hard to pull off. As in, a lot of what Ben was doing was being everywhere in the world, every single event.
Yeah,
that was, I would say, his superpower.
Yeah.
But with flights pretty much grounded and traveling restricted, that obviously wasn't possible at the time.
But anyways, well, that's probably a good ending point. So
it's been good to see you and good to catch up.
Yeah.
The invitation is always open, as in we'll be in New Zealand, and we like welcoming people. So whenever you drop by,
thanks,
give me a yell. It's very likely you'll be landing in Auckland anyway, so that's why. So
okay, all right, cool. Got a place to go. Awesome. Well, anything else you wanna share here before we wrap up? Any links you want to share? Anything like that?
No, I think just for people, if they want to get in touch, my Twitter handle, FoomanNZ. Happy to have a chat like this anytime to sort of see what everyone is up to. And, looking forward to connecting with more people.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks again, and thanks everybody for tuning in.
Cool.